But in true early 2010s movie fashion, she doesn't need a therapist. She needs a cappella. Hi, welcome back to my channel. It's been a hot minute. I took a little break from YouTube because my life was falling apart. In that time, I chopped my hair and I left the country, as one hot girl does. And it did not solve my problems. In fact, I think I'm in a worse condition now than before. The second I stepped back into the States again, I was sucker punched by pollen allergies from hell. I really wanted to go back to making videos right away, but I was just simply suffering and feeling too gross to film anything. I wanted to film a Met Gala related video, but the moments passed, we've all moved on. But the other night when I was rotting in my bed, barely living, not laughing nor loving, I opened Netflix and I watched Pitch Perfect for the first time in years. And I want to talk about it because it really is the 2010s musical comedy film. Like, it's so early 2010s, and man, was it influential. Really shaped the world today as we know it. It did what it needed to do in the era of Harry Potter and Twilight ending and the rise of YA dystopian adaptations. Whoever wrote this movie thought, what if Glee? But in college. When I was a wee lad and I watched this movie for the first time, I thought it was one of the funniest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. And now watching it in my roaring 20s, I simultaneously believe that it's the best and worst movie that has ever been made. This movie opens with the previous year's final a cappella performances. Elizabeth Banks is one of the hosts, literally was Effie Trinket in the Hunger Games in the same year that this movie came out, so I just need to take a moment for us all to appreciate the duality. Now, I want to preface this next thing by saying that anything that has to do with the competition hosts is just satire. Like, they're just a bit, and anything they say is just so obviously unserious, but Elizabeth Banks does say this one line, "Nothing makes a girl feel like a woman more than a man who sings like a boy." Like, who wrote that? Who fucking wrote that? The troublemakers come off stage, and then Bumper, yes, Bumper, played by Adam Devine, not to be confused with Adam Levine, who's most known for being the lead singer of Maroon 5 and DMing women. Holy fuck, that body of yours is absurd. The Bard and Bellas go on stage serving flight attendant core, and then they give an underwhelming performance. That is until Aubrey, played by Anna Camp, vomits the most CGI-looking vomit I have ever seen in a film. And that's the opening scene. Pure chaos, a high mark of an iconic film. Then we're introduced to the main character, Anna Kendrick's character, Becca. I just need to acknowledge that Anna Kendrick was in Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1 just a year before this movie came out, so this was truly a time to be alive. Anyway, Becca is giving us the biggest I'm not like the other girls energy that you can possibly imagine. Again, this movie is very early 2010s. She's giving the eyeliner, the headphones, the attitude. She's not like the other girls. She's a DJ/producer. So it's Becca's move-in day at Barden University, and she's a college freshman. And girl, Anna Kendrick does not look like a college freshman here, but I digress. Jessie, played by Skylar Astin, then pulls up in a car obnoxiously singing, which is all you really need to know about his character, and he also does not look like a college freshman. Becca then goes to her college dorm where she meets and says hi to her roommate Kimmy Jin, who gives her the most bombastic side eye, so Becca is like, "Oh, you don't know English?" Also, her dorm room is so nice and spacious. My college dorm was not that nice. Jesse also walks into his dorm room and meets his roommate Benji, played by Ben Platt. Broadway musical king Ben Platt, our favorite Nepo baby Ben Platt, although I'm afraid to call him that because I don't want to receive more threats. Then we're introduced to Becca's dad, who is a comparative literature professor at Barden University, which really explains how she got into this college, considering she carries herself like she gives no fucks about anyone or anything. She is unbelievably rude to her dad, and we don't have a reason to hate her dad yet, so as an audience, we're like, the problem that Becca has with her dad is that she wants to move to LA and produce shitty dubstep music, but her dad is like, wait a second, how about you get a free college education first, and then you can move to LA, which is a conflict that is so privileged. Becca then goes to the activities fair where the Bard and Bellas and the troublemakers are. The Bard and Bellas are highly selective, and by selective I mean discriminatory, but because they suck, Chloe, aka Brittany Snow, is like, maybe we should start admitting members solely based on merit. And that's where Rebel Wilson comes in as Fat Amy. Crime. a crime. Chloe then sees Becca and tries to get Becca to sign up for auditions, but Becca calls it lame because she's not like the other girls, which starts Aubrey's hatred for her. Becca does sign up for a job at her school's radio station where her boss is this British guy named Luke, who I spent way too long trying to figure out where I know him from. Then I looked him up and realized he was in Harry Potter and the Lucy Hale Cinderella movie. Anyway, Jesse is also working at the school's radio station, and he genuinely is not that funny. Like, he just isn't. Skylar Astin is just a charming actor, and that's the only reason why this works. And you know what? I don't recall the context of this scene. I just have here in my notes, why is Becca remixing I'm Gonna Be by the Proclaimers with Titanium by David Guetta? And I just feel compelled to note that. We then jump to presumably the first week or two of classes, and Becca is not attending class, which is, again, free for her. So then her dad comes to her dorm and is like, what gives, child? Her dad then makes her a deal where he's like, join a club, take college seriously for a year, and if you still hate it, I will help you drop out and move to LA. But we do get a crumb of why she's like this, because apparently her dad and her mom divorced when she was younger. But in true early 2010s movie fashion, she doesn't need a therapist. She needs a cappella. Cut to later, Becca is about to shower and she's singing Titanium, and then Chloe hears her and then hops in the shower with her, which is sexual harassment, I think. But I remember as a kid, everyone loved this scene and thought it was funny. What I will say is that the Titanium harmonies were pretty iconic. And then we get to the iconic audition scene where everyone is singing Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson. And then, Becca comes in last and late with the cup song. Why was the cup thing so cool to all these college students in this scene? Also, why would you sing that after everyone else sang Since You've Been Gone? She also didn't sing enough bars. I know it's controversial, but the cup song? No, because Chloe and Aubrey are the only current members of the Bard and Bellas, they do have to admit a lot of the women who auditioned. And then it's initiation night where Jesse goes up to Becca and tells her that they're gonna have Aka children by, God forbid, a man ever says that to me. The Bellas had their first practice and their first performance at a frat mixer, which goes really horribly. And then Chloe dramatically tells everyone that she has nodes, which personally is one of my favorite scenes of this movie. It's just so dramatic in the best way. There's this version of the scene where one of the characters goes, "It's okay, Chloe, this is just God punishing you because you're a ginger," and I kind of wish it made it into the movie. So far in the film, there's this one-sided stuff going on between Jesse and Becca, where Jesse is constantly trying to talk to Becca, trying to flirt with her, trying to be friends with her, and she does not seem that interested in him. She's never initiated anything, and at this point in the movie, Becca is sitting outside somewhere, and then Jesse comes up to her, sits down next to her, and is like, "Let's hang out, let's do stuff together, let's watch movies together." To which Becca is like, "I don't want to watch movies, I don't like movies." That is a red flag. If you don't like movies, I don't trust you. So Jesse's like, "No, we're gonna watch The Breakfast Club later, and you're gonna like it." And then the riff-off scene happens, iconic. I think it's in a skate park. I really don't know where on the Barden University campus this is. They all just sing at each other, which sounds like a weird concept, but is truly a cappella. We just need to collectively suspend our disbelief with how synchronized they are, though, because it kind of slays. The next morning, presumably, I don't know, honestly, Becca and Jesse are hanging out at Becca's dorm and she's showing him some of her mixes, and Jesse is like, "This is really, really good." No, it isn't. But honestly, that was the first time I thought, oh, Jesse might be a keeper because he lied for her. Then Jesse shows her The Breakfast Club and says it has the best movie soundtrack ever, which... no, Don't You Forget About Me is the only song that anyone can name on that movie. It's insane that he said that this movie has the best movie soundtrack. Like, watch a Lord of the Rings film, Jesse. Also, The Breakfast Club is fine. Like, it's a classic, but it's not the greatest film. And then pretty much until the semifinals, the girls are fighting, and they're fighting over this tradition versus change sort of issue with the Bard and Bella's music. Aubrey keeps reusing the same songs and routines for every competition every year, and Becca wants to make it more modern and change the routine up so that they can actually win, and they keep butting heads about that, which is the dumbest argument in my opinion. Why would you ever want to reuse the same music and routine for every competition of every year when you know it hasn't won you anything and the same judges have seen it every year? Like, why would you expect anything out of that? And Aubrey's side of the argument just literally makes no sense, and this argument drives a large part of the film. Something to note at this part of the movie is that regionals have happened and the Bard and Bellas do advance forward, but after the competition, they get into a fight with some of the alumni, and then Becca gets arrested for accidentally breaking a window. So Jessie calls her dad, which she gets really mad at him for. Sure, but girl, you don't have your own money, so how are you expecting to get out of jail? The Bellas weren't there to bail you out. So she and Jessie just aren't on good terms at this point. And at the semifinals, Becca starts singing the song Bulletproof during the routine and improvises that, which doesn't throw the whole performance off, but does surprise everyone in the group, and then Aubrey gets really, really mad at her. Either way, they didn't do good enough to advance, but they do get into a fight backstage. So Aubrey tells Becca that she's a pain in her ass and that she knows she's hooking up with Jessie, to which Jessie steps in and clarifies that they're not hooking up, and Becca yells at him, okay, sure, but he was just trying to clarify a rumor that also had to do with him. So now we're at the part of the movie where everything is falling apart and the main character has to fix everything. It's spring break and Becca decides to actually watch The Breakfast Club on her own, and then she's sobbing at the end of the movie. The Breakfast Club was fine, but it did not make me cry, and usually I'm a crier. Becca then goes to Jessie's dorm to try to apologize and talk to him, and then Jessie gives her this spiel about how she pushes away anyone who actually cares about her, which is funny because he doesn't know anything about her other relationships, and again didn't show interest in him in the beginning. So then a qualifying group gets disqualified because it turns out they're not actually in college, so the Bard and Bellas do make it to the finals. Bumper also gets invited to sing backup for John Mayer, which red flag. So then Benji replaces him in the Troublemakers, and it's Ben Platt's time to shine. And with Becca gone, the rest of the Bellas start fighting about the whole routine argument, and then they both implode and explode, which causes the most chaotic and cursed scene of this movie. Aubrey is projectile vomiting, they're wrestling each other in the vomit, and then Becca walks into the room and is like, what the fuck? Becca apologizes, Aubrey lets her back in, and then Becca has this idea for them all to sit down together and admit something about themselves to bond. And the thing that Becca shares is that she never really got along with girls or had close female friends, which red flag. The other girls also share things like Chloe got her notes removed, Amy's real name is Patricia, etc. Then we get to the finals, the most iconic of iconic scenes. The Troublemakers have a great performance and Ben Platt slays, and the Bellas slayed so hard that they may never slay again. Although I would love to include the actual clips, I think copyright would actually fry my ass on a grill for that, so instead we're going to collectively nod at the fact that that was iconic. And rather than talk things out, Becca sings the song Don't You Forget About Me to Jessie, and then after the performance she goes up to him and she kisses him. And that's the power of acapella, babes. And that's literally where the movie ends. Literally the best movie ever made, literally the worst. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video, comment unhinged but tasteful things, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. My voice is dying, but hopefully I can make another video when I feel like a human again.